I'd like to welcome Uhmeer, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get a hand of applause. My guy, what's going on, man?
Chilling, man. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I can't complain. Happy to see you in Jersey.
Pleasure being here.
How was the trip over here?
Great.
Good.
Simple, easy. It's right up the way.
Nice. So first and foremost, I want to thank you from taking the time out, coming to share your talents.
Yeah, appreciate you. Appreciate you for having me again.
Man, give it up, man.
Yeah.
All right. So you're coming off the release of What's That Smell? That's your latest release. Groovy little 4-pack, you know what I mean? First and foremost, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
How has the feedback been on that?
It's been great. It's been really good. It's been I feel like really direct. Like I just have a lot of conversations with people and, comments and when I pass by people who know me from music. It's always love with that one. Thus far, it's been just great.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing to hear. I've had more than enough time to sit with it. It's been about a month, right?
Yep.
I gotta say my favorite record is Soho.
Oh, man, I love that.
That's my
great.
shit.
That's
I'm a
great.
huge Nerd fan, and you know who Nerd is, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Pharrell, Chad, Neptune, Star Trek, the
Changed
whole
the whole
nine.
game.
Right. So you had me at transitions. Whenever the beat switch,
Yep.
I'm sold. You got the job, So
Shouts out Magro Sounds for that. He produced that. It's someone I went to high school with, and it was just that was a really random song that I made. I'm always in New York. I'm always in Soho. But it's great to hear that people like that one. Because that one, I would say, I haven't had a lot of communication on with like, fans and stuff.
yeah, I don't think people really know how to take it.
Yeah, it's
you know
different.
what I mean?
It's different.
It's different. I do like at the end of it, like, you kind of touch on, like, the hurry up and buy
Yup,
type shit.
because it's real. It's real shit. Like,
Right.
If you know shopping in Soho, especially, I don't wear a lot of brands. Like, if I like it, I'll wear it. If you ain't wearing brands and you walk into some of these stores, bro, the looks and the type rhetoric that they just use around you can tell it's a classist space. But, that's why I just touch on it and kind of make it a vibe, because I don't want to get too deep.
I like the vibe. Speaking of, like, the transitions and the producer you just shouted out, how involved are you on the production side of the creative process?
I can be pretty involved. There's two sides of me with that. Like, I like to let a producer produce. I like being an artist and being kind of an instrument in that moment. But at the same time, I'm more of a vocal producer than an on-hand producer. So I know how to explain things and how to, like, hear stuff, catch it, and, So, yeah, I've been... And with Magro specifically, like, we've had sessions where it's been, like... Anybody, really, for the most part, I've had sessions with that it's like...
It's a back and forth.
We collaborate, and
Yeah.
it's not, necessarily you do this, I do that. But it just depends on the session.
Right. So you have, like, a balanced blend of, like, hip-hop, soul, trap, and even the record What's That Smell? It reminds me of one of those, like, old funk Parliament records, right?
Yeah.
Can you share some of your influences and where you pull from creatively?
It's a lot. It's a whole lot.
I would figure to be that much.
It's more probably geography based than music at this point. And I can't even say that it's the music based around the places, but I'm from PG County, Maryland, so I grew up with kind of a southern but still like northeast kind of rap space. But then I moved to LA when I was 10, and they going the funk Parliament and that West Side kind of swing. I fell in love with just they know how to write a song and they know how to make something to drive to.
Okay.
But just to, people like Black Thought, people like Kendrick, people like Isaiah Rashad, it's too many, Georgia Ann Muldrow. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's from the West Coast. She has a lot of West Coast influence in her stuff too, but it's too many people to list, like way too. And then of course, DMV wise, it's like people like IDK and
I know
Wale.
IDK, yeah.
Yeah,
IDK's
they
fire.
tough. They
Yeah,
tough.
they
And they
tough.
did a lot for us because we didn't have a lot of representation, I feel like, growing up.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So how important is it for you to, like, pay homage to those influences in your music?
It's important. It's important, of course. Like, I feel like I want to give everybody their flowers. At the same time, though, it's not the literal purpose of the record. Like, I'm not doing this for the people that did it. They did it for me as a fan. I'm trying to pass that on more so than, like, pass it up.
Okay.
So it's still love for sure, because I'm gonna make it because of them, and I hope that they can hear it. But I'm doing this for the people that gotta go to work. You know what I'm saying? The people that are struggling to figure stuff out, people that are having identity crisis and all that type of stuff. This is a essential job in my eyes.
Okay. So I'm sure like the music you grew up being the son, being the son of DJ Jazzy Jeff, was very vast. And you were exposed to a lot.
Yeah.
Was it ever hard for you to relate to the current music because of that exposure? Or the popular music, not the current, just
yeah. I wouldn't say difficult. I just really knew the difference. Like I knew what I liked because, especially with my dad being a DJ, even if something is in a mainstream space, when you see it at a party, it can change your whole perspective on a record because you're watching it work. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I just understood that there were different records for different spaces, and like I appreciated my understanding of that because it was like they're both hits. It's just they might be interpreted differently.
Right, it's for different environments.
Right, because I was, I'm a Dilla fan. I'm a MF Doom fan. MF Doom,
rest in peace.
You know what I'm saying? Like R.I.P. I'm not sure if like there's a mainstream audience out there that might not know an MF Doom song. That does not mean that MF Doom isn't cold and just as cold, if not more cold, than most niggas out there. So
that's true. That's true. So I remember rap taking a turn and it started incorporating melodies. And I was listening to some of your earlier stuff and you play with melodies a lot.
Yeah.
But I think now it's kind of rounded out where artists like yourself and others are playing with flows and harmonies more. And I think it's finally finding its niche. Do you think it's reasonable to classify what you do and artists like you as just strictly hip hop?
Yeah, it's hip hop. The reason I do it is that culture and the community. Like that's what I was raised in. It's definitely some other stuff in there though too. I think the culture is hip hop, but in terms of the genre, like it's not just rap. You know what I'm saying? It's some soul in there, some funk, some jazz influences. But rap is probably my main streamline of communication through it. Okay,
I'm really open to the idea of like genre-less music.
Yeah, facts.
But if I had to liken some of the stuff that you're doing, artists like Smino and stuff like that, I liken it to that like neo soul movement in the late 90s.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where it wasn't quite R&B, but it was a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I always wonder how do you create a subgenre like that? I don't think we've seen a movement like that in the culture.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, I don't know if hip hop correctly describes all that you do, but I would love to see this subgenre blossom.
Yeah, I think it is. Like you said, like people like Smino are big blueprints for I think a lot of us. Smino and Anderson .Paak, that whole No Worries movement is very pivotal in just blending and I think the people that I've seen, I know there's a lot of people doing it, but the people that I respect for like making something fresh, it never felt like they were intentionally trying to make something fresh.
Very organic.
Yeah,
very organic.
Even sometimes, like I have stories of people from the neo soul era in the 90s where it's like they were making Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder B-sides. But because they were trying to make that at that time in those studios with that technology, it came out as neo soul. So it's like
that's fire.
Being a fan sometimes, I think can make some fire ass music. You know what I'm saying?
You kind of opened the door to a question I didn't have written down.
Right?
So stories. Speaking of stories, can you give me like a surreal moment where you might have been in the room with somebody that you just never thought you'd be in the room with? Do you have anything like that?
Shoot, there was recently it was actually funny. So we run a studio. Like in the Pennsylvania area, and it was like we had a live stream. We did a performance live stream, and it was all these dope musicians. It was surreal in this moment. Like Black Thought performed, De La performed. It was insane. But next day, we winding down, but we throw a jam session. You just throw one.
Right.
And it's a bunch of musicians, same musicians playing, and we're just crushing. And in walks Tank and the Bangers. I don't know if you're
I
familiar
know who
with
Tank and the Bangers
Yeah,
is.
in walks Tank, and like, yo, the music that I've heard from them is just like, it's another pivotal like sound for me.
Uh-huh.
And I'm really good at just, I'm not trying to make anybody uncomfortable, especially at our studio. Like, I want to make you feel at home. And my dad is just like, yo, she's recording over something. You want to record her? And I was like, yeah, for sure. And I just go in, start like, I ran the session, but I'm sitting there listening to Tank record like songs that I would hear, and I'm like hearing some of the voices she's doing, and it's just, I galvanize over stuff like that, because it's literally like, yo, I'm about to take this stuff to the studio and try some of this shit, because it's like, you just get to see like magic in real time.
That's
I love
dope.
it.
That's fire.
So yeah, that's one of those moments for me, for sure.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad.
All right. So I watched the recent interview with Schoolboy Q.
Mm-hmm.
And he was highlighting that the market is so oversaturated that artists are kind of being reduced to like content creators.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that's affected like the demand for a full-length album.
Yeah.
The content that a full-length album would provide typically is the fans getting through social media, right? So unless you're a major act, I don't know if the audience is demanding a full project. What are your thoughts on that? And is the album dead, essentially?
I don't think the album is dead, and I do agree with what Schoolboy is saying. I think Schoolboy was able to benefit off of an older era of hip hop still. Right. Like most people in TDE, I would say, had that era, except for, the people like Doechii and, Zakari and stuff.
Right.
I think music is forever changing. I think technology is changing. So, even that being the case, I think this is just changing how music might be interpreted for the next generations. Like, it might not be the Michael Jacksons of the situation. It might be more La Russells and things of that nature. Just in terms of communities, niches, like hip hop originally was. The album being dead, I feel like I've been putting this into action henceforth. What's That Smell? What's That Smell is a single, but I incorporated the releases that I had in the past, and I feel like I watched Lil Yachty do this, and I watched a couple other artists do this, but for me it was Yachty, and like, finding a unique way to deliver people your album without just throwing it out there, I think is how you kind of reclaim people's attention. Because if you put out 15 fire songs and you step by step it, you mix it up, you do whatever, you can give somebody people are looking for experience. I think that's the main thing. It's not that the album's dead. It's just you can't go buy something physical, open the covers, see the poster. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's experience missing with streaming and with, this oversaturated market. But it's not dead. You just got to get creative.
Right. One of the side effects of that streaming era is that it's kind of, like you said, it's made artists be a little more formulaic in how they present their art to the world. My question is, do you think as a collective, artists are making music that's going to last the same way as music in the past? Because right now you can put on one of those old funk parliament records,
go crazy,
without the the new technology and stuff, and it still slaps. Like, I just wonder what records we're going to pull from now for the last 10 years, and it's going to be 40 years later we turn that on at the barbecue and you don't know nothing about this.
We'll see. I'm very curious.
Right.
I'm very curious with that type of stuff. I'm like, it ties into like what we talked about off camera with some of these records, feeling you might make something a year ago and it worked right now. That's the ingredient that I work towards. That timeless feel, I think, is what, whenever I feel like, and it's an opinion, whenever I feel like I heard something timeless, it's very different than like, oh man, this is a moment for right now.
Right.
I know a bunch of moments that we'll forget, but I don't want to.
And speaking of timeless, like, I think our perception of time is crazy, because what we think is supposed to pop in this amount of months or whatever, sometimes it doesn't work like that. And sometimes what you made 3 years ago pops now. And I think that's the benefit of, like, where we're at, like the internet. Somebody can go find your shit,
Facts.
So you kind of threw me off. You said You said you grew up in PG?
PG County.
PG County?
Yeah.
Now, originally, just assuming who your father was, I thought you were from Philly.
Yeah, I was born in Philly,
Okay.
and Philly is a big part of me. But I moved to PG before I was 1, so
Okay.
you know, I ain't.
Okay.
But like I said, it's a lot of culture that's wearing on me. I'm more in Philly now than probably then.
I went to school in Philly.
Oh, word.
Yeah. I went to the Art Institute of
Oh,
Philadelphia.
I know plenty of people that went to the Art Institute. That's
Yeah. It don't exist no more.
Yeah, but I mean, no, I got old homies that were for sure like.
Okay, we got rap. We got rap a little bit after we cut the cameras off. My original question was, can you speak to Philly and the city itself, and what influence that would have on you? But maybe I need to switch that to PG County.
We could do both in a very quick amount of time too,
Alright.
because Philly is, what my father did, but there's just, I don't know if people know how many musicians are from Philly. Like Philly is one of the coldest in terms of like, why am I blanking on bruh's name? Kenny Gamble, like Gamble and Huff, and like all the records that they contributed, then going down to like the neo soul movement and the stuff that like
has such a rich history, you know.
Yeah, and even hip hop, I feel like Nas recorded some of Illmatic. I don't know if I'm correct on that, but I know the Fugees recorded all up in Philly, and I know it was just like state property and stuff like that. Like it was a lot going on in Philly. And to this day, a lot of people are in Philly.
It's a black ass city too.
Oh,
that's what I love most about it.
For sure. But PG is very similar with that. I think that's why it's like an ecosystem of that type of of the arts. But in terms of PG, it was more DC based. Like we go because we so close to DC. So Chuck Brown, of course, and like the East Siders and stuff like that. But then rap, you got Wale, you got Fat Trail was big for us growing up. People like Aunt Glizzy, things like that. Like it was a big community out there, and people like Money Mar, Young Manny, Zan, like it was people all through the culture that I think influenced a lot. And Corday is Pressure from the city.
Right.
Pressure. He from Charles County, I think, right? From Charles County. I
think I wouldn't know.
Yeah. Oh no, my cousin gave me the confirmation. He a land boy too.
Word. All right, so we gonna switch gears on the second half of this interview.
Okay.
All right. I know we're speaking to Amar the artist, but I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on your acting credentials.
Yeah.
Right. So it's funny. I know I'm getting old when they start remaking stuff from my childhood.
Yeah.
So I grew up with Boy Meets World.
Absolutely.
But you were on Girls Meets World.
Yep, the flip.
Right.
The flip.
So how did you get into acting?
So crazy story, but it's like I moved to LA. We were trying to move to the islands. That didn't work. So we moved to LA.
Which islands?
Barbados. Trying to get into Barbados. Nah, my family has like peoples in all like the Bahamas, Jamaica.
Okay.
And like we just love the islands. I grew up going there all the time. We tried to get into Barbados, but Barbados is really strict. At least at the time, it was really strict with letting people in and stuff. Which we completely understand respectfully. We ain't trying to, But we moved to LA and I got sick. I got diagnosed with cancer as a youngin'.
Oh wow.
And it was crazy that being in the hospital, like my personality and just being kind of positive, the nurses fell in love with me there and they looked out for me and they kept recommending me for shit. So it'd be like, yo, Glee wants to do like a show with a bunch of extras. We recommended Uhmeer and I go. It's like a music video or somebody's doing an audition.
Okay.
And that just propelled in a manager and an agent and auditions. And I want to say probably 5 years in was when Girl Meets World came about.
Okay.
It was like my second or third, like I did a bunch of short films or like stuff that wasn't IMDb credible, but that was like the third actual thing that I did.
Okay, would you say the music, your attraction to music came first, or
Definitely,
would it be
definitely?
Okay,
I knew I wanted to act, but I'm from PG County, bro. Like I ain't know nobody that was doing that jump, so I was just like, I'm gonna figure out music.
Yeah, you
at
know
some
more
point.
rappers than you do people trying to get on set. Nah, I got you. As far as both of them, music and acting, are there any similarities between the two?
Yeah, 100%.
Can you speak to that? Like just the approach to both of them, like.
at least for me, and so I'm a work in progress because I'm trying to get my show chops just as high as possible. It's not. It's a vulnerable ass space. Just like getting on a stage and telling people like shit. Even if you putting it in a unique way, bro, you know, like I'm talking about some shit that I don't know if I just want people to like have a conversation with me about. But that's kind of the point. So to sometimes characterify, like, you know, I don't even know if that's a word, but to, you know,
it is now.
Okay, bet. You know what I'm saying? To characterify yourself in these songs and to like latch on to stuff similarly to how I would in like a show or a film or something, like makes it really easy, I think, to just get on that stage and have no ego. Because it's like, yo, I'm not even necessarily doing this for myself as much as I'm doing this for the external.
Okay. Good answer. Good answer.
Thank you.
Do you think it requires the same side of the brain to do both? To be an artist and to be an actor?
Yeah. Actor to, I mean, honestly, both sides require both sides of the brain at this point. Because it's like, you know, I could be one side, you know, what is it, left or right? That's creative based, you know?
I think the left side is
all right,
creative.
so if I'm just left side, I'm not going to do none of my content in terms of like scheduling and making sure that I'm like, even if I don't want to, I'm not going to do any of my releases up ahead because I'm just in the moment of being creative. Like, I think you got to apply some of the structure in order to even make yourself more creative. And with acting, you know, it's very creative, but there's a lot of like, I need to know my lines in and out before I even get to the point of trying stuff on, because if I don't know what I'm talking about, then I'm just, and not, it's just a lot of like, it's a lot of critical little like reading and stuff like that, you know, my artist brain, to be honest, is not gonna.
I got you. All right, so winding down, I want to ask like a series of quick answer questions.
Okay.
Right? So let's go. Being an artist requires you to tackle the same subjects, but finding a new way to do so. If you had to pinpoint a reoccurring theme in your music, what would it be?
Smoking weed and driving.
Fire. Music is the soundtrack to life. If you had to play your music on a specific day of the week, what day would it be?
Oh man, Wednesdays.
Any reason why?
It's the middle of the week. We're going to get you through that, bitch.
All right. If you were asked to score a movie with your music, what genre would it be and who would be the lead actor?
Animation and Tom Hardy.
All right. If you had to recommend one song of yours to a new listener, what would that be?
What's That Smell?
Fire. All right. And if you had to put someone up on a new artist other than yourself, who would it be?
BK the Ruler. She tough.
BK the Ruler.
Yeah, BK the Ruler is tough.
All right, I'm going to go check that out.
Yo, do that. She's going crazy.
All right. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. Can we give it up a little bit?
Yeah. Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all.
We're looking forward to hearing more from you, man. Please come back. Come kick it with us.
I'd love to, for sure.
All right, man. Thank you.